Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we've got something really specific for you, especially if you're in service design.
That's right. We're zeroing in on day 2 of the Service Design Global Conference, SDGC 25.
Specifically, Thursday, October 16th. If you weren't there, well, you missed the big one. The pixel debate.
Oh yeah, it was pretty intense. The motion was, design belongs in the boardroom. A really polarizing topic.
Definitely, and it tied right into the main conference theme, didn't it?
Absolutely. The theme was business transformation by design, leading modern organizations through service design. So this debate really hit the core issue.
Which is?
How do we actually bridge that gap? The gap between designers doing the work and the leadership making the big strategic calls.
Got it. So who was arguing?
Okay, so arguing for the motion, we had Antonio Cesare Iadarola. He's VP of User Experience and Service Design Lead at JPMorgan Chase & Co.
Okay, big hitter. And against?
Against was Jamin Hegeman, who's an executive partner at Harmonic Design.
All right, let's get into it. Let's start with Antonio's case. Why did he think design absolutely needs that boardroom seat?
Well, Antonio didn't frame it as just like a nice-to-have creative voice. For him, it was critical infrastructure.
Infrastructure, how so?
His argument basically stood on 3 legs: metrics, governance, and representation. And his big focus was structure, especially for dealing with market volatility, uncertainty.
And he had a pretty dramatic example for that, right? Something about ChatGPT.
Yeah, he talked about this product, DeepSeek. Apparently, it just blew past ChatGPT in downloads almost overnight.
Wow, okay.
And he tied that directly to market panic. He mentioned huge losses, like $600 billion for companies like NVIDIA.
And his point was this was a user experience failure causing that.
Exactly, a failure that directly hit shareholder value. So for him, having design in the boardroom isn't just about measuring impact. It's fundamentally about protecting the business from these massive UX-driven shocks.
So the governance piece comes in there.
Right. He sees design leadership as this essential coordination system. It sets policy, creates frameworks across different products, different countries even. It's like creating the right conditions for design talent to actually thrive and have impact at scale.
Okay, so Antonio's argument is pretty clear.
Yeah.
Design at the top equals organizational resilience.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But Jamin Hegeman came at it from a totally different angle, yeah? He was basically saying, why would design even want to be there?
Exactly. Jamin's counter was that the boardroom, as it exists now, is kind of the problem itself.
How so?
He described it as like a relic, an old industrial command and control model. And he argued that its fundamental language just doesn't match design's language.
Which is more about?
Collaboration, creativity, empathy. He actually used this analogy. It said a penguin doesn't belong in the desert.
Huh, okay. So designers shouldn't have to change their fundamental nature just to get a seat at that specific table.
That was his point. He even talked about what he called the leadership trap.
The leadership trap? What's that?
His idea was that when designers climb too high, purely into that executive management space, they risk getting too far away from the actual craft. They lose touch with the empathy, the skills that made them valuable designers in the first place.
That's a really interesting tension. So if you don't aim for the boardroom, how do you get strategic influence? Just stay tactical forever.
Well, Jamin's answer to that was about earned authority, not granted authority.
Meaning,
don't wait for the title or the hierarchy. You demonstrate impact. You show outcomes. You invite non-designers into your process so they see the value firsthand.
So you build influence from the ground up, essentially creating your own permission slip rather than asking for one.
Precisely. It's about showing, not just telling, letting the work speak for itself and building that grassroots authority.
Okay, so 2 really compelling but opposing views.
Yeah.
How did the audience react? What was the verdict?
This is maybe the most interesting part. Before the debate started, they polled the audience. Only 28% were actually for the motion for design in the boardroom.
Wow, okay, so most people started out agreeing with Jamin, basically.
Seems that way. But then, after Antonio and Jamin went at it, they voted again. And get this, 42% of the audience changed their minds.
42% swing, that's huge. So who won?
Well, because the win was based on who swayed the most people, the against the motion side, Jamin's side actually won the debate. That massive swing sealed it.
Incredible. So what's the big takeaway here for service designers listening? Is it, don't bother with the boardroom?
I don't think it's quite that simple. For me, the real lesson isn't about the title or the specific room. It's about fluency.
Fluency.
Yeah. Jamin won probably because he tapped into that real fear designers have of losing their craft and becoming corporate suits. But Antonio's points about metrics, risk, and value are undeniable. We have to speak that language too.
So it's about being bilingual.
Exactly. We need to be fluent in the language of business metrics, ROI, risk mitigation, shareholder value, while still holding on to our unique superpower, that process-driven, empathy-based ability to solve complex human problems.
Earned authority, demonstrated impact, and business fluency. That seems to be the core message coming out of this.
I think so. It's less about where you sit and more about how you communicate the value of what you do in terms they understand while staying true to the design process.
Fantastic breakdown. Thanks for walking us through that. It sounds like a debate you really didn't want to miss.
It was definitely a highlight. My pleasure.
All right, that brings us to the end of this deep dive. Thank you for listening.